I'm very excited to see such a strong university investing in this area, and believe me, there is a need for more work that's bridging academic research and the policy world, applied research, and the kind of training that this kind of a school can provide to a next generation of public and private sector leaders in this country. So congratulations. I'm looking forward to tracking your success. Maybe I can just say a couple words about Canadian foreign policy today and what I see as a couple of perils, potential perils facing Canadian foreign policy. You won't be surprised to learn that I think that the government has been doing a pretty good job so far. But I think that one of the perils is quite obvious and another one is less obvious. The obvious one, of course, is our relations with the United States, and I don't need to elaborate on that, except to say that we're really in an unusually uncertain moment in our history now in the future of that partnership. Our closest partner, our closest ally, our by far biggest customer. We're in the midst of a negotiation where it is entirely unclear what the American negotiating position will ultimately be, because the current negotiating position is not a negotiating position. So the uncertainty alone is a risk. It's not that we just trade things. We don't sell goods to the United States. Of course we do. It's not just a matter of selling goods to the United States and buying goods from the United States. We have a largely integrated continental economy. There are patterns of investment that we benefit from based on assumptions of being able to access the entire continental economy. And if there are question marks about the future of access to the U.S. market, then those question marks alone are sufficient to create chill in investment. So a prolonged period of uncertainty itself is bad. And of course, Prime Minister Trudeau, no matter what he does in his foreign policy, if this goes south seriously, if there is a serious rupture in our economic relationship with the United States, unfortunately that risks being his legacy item in foreign policy. I think that the government so far has been handling this issue very, very well, but they're dealing with an extremely difficult, complicated, and uncertain situation. So that's peril number one. Peril number two is a little less obvious, but it's related to the first. It's that the demands of managing a relationship with such a unpredictable partner as the Trump administration risks sucking up so much oxygen from our foreign policy that there won't be a heck of a lot of attention left to really have sustained attention in other areas. And we need to be paying attention to the broad areas, many different areas of our foreign policy. Chrystia Freeland, in her speech in Parliament, which I thought was really an unusually good political speech, it was one that was worth saving, made a very strong case that Canada needs to have a globally engaged foreign policy. I couldn't agree more, but that requires sustained, high-level political attention across a whole range of areas. And of course, managing with the US is sucking up a lot of oxygen. We need to be paying a lot of attention to increasing our access to emerging markets. We are behind our partners / competitors in many of those parts of the world. Those are delicate questions. You know already the emerging debate about what our appropriate relationship should be in regards to China. Managing that set of policy issues and the politics surrounding that will require a huge amount of attention. But beyond the kind of immediate interests, attending to our immediate interests, one of the things that Canada has always done is contributed to addressing global problems that matter to Canadians and other people. And we've been good at doing that, in part because we have a very talented foreign service, in part because our population are like bred-in-the-bone internationalists. There's no strong isolationist streak in our public opinion. But it's partly because Canada has the benefit of being able to mobilize partners. And by mobilizing partners, I mean not just other like-minded states, I mean non-governmental actors. And if you think about the Anti-Personnel Landmines Convention or the International Criminal Court, or even Stephen Harper's Maternal Child Newborn Health Initiative, mobilizing private foundations, mobilizing individuals. Canada can do that. It's partly a reputational, spending our reputational capital. It's partly because we have the connections to be able to do it. And so it's important that this government, I believe, not miss the opportunity to really move the yardsticks on one or more important international issues that matter to Canadians and to other people at a moment when the Prime Minister enjoys a higher profile and probably more positive reputation, arguably, than any Prime Minister globally in our history. That reputational capital will dissipate. So what can you spend it on? Here's an idea. There are millions of people stuck in refugee purgatory in this world. Only a tiny fraction of the displaced people in this world are being resettled. And most of them aren't going anywhere. Most of them are not returning home. Most of them are not moving on. And these displacement situations are getting longer and longer and longer. The average is now between 17 and 20 years. Children are growing up in these places with very little hope, sometimes with no education. There are millions and millions of children not receiving any education, formal or informal, right now, with no employable skills, with no livelihoods. Canada could, I'll throw it out there, mobilize and lead an international coalition of countries, international organizations, non-governmental actors with the specific goal of providing quality primary education to 100% of the children who are stuck in refugee purgatory. It would be complicated. It would require innovation in terms of how the education is delivered. It would require fundraising on an enormous scale. But it's achievable. It's ambitious but achievable. And it's the kind of scale of initiative that a Prime Minister with this kind of profile could do.